Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang berhormat Dato Sri Mustapa Mohamed, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Michael Yeo, the President of KSI Strategic Institute for Asia Pacific. Yang berbahagia Dato Sri Muhammad Iqbal Rotha, Chairman of the Economic Club Kuala Lumpur. Esteemed speakers and panelists, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. On behalf of KSI and ECKL, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the 2022 Malaysian Banking and Finance Summit. The theme for this year's summit, Future-Proof Banking Post-Pandemic, Gearing Up for Recovery, is apt and timely considering the almost full reopening of the economy from this Friday, 1st April. The topics to be addressed today are all pertinent and relevant as we move towards a new normal and consider new approaches to steering Malaysia's strained economy towards a robust, sustainable, and inclusive recovery. I must say that this new normal is now going back to physical. It's been a year since I last attended a physical conference like this. I must say it felt a bit awkward this morning as I walked into this room. But anyway, it's good to see so many friends, old friends from the banking fraternity here in this hall this morning. It's almost like a reunion for many of us. Well, we are especially grateful to Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Mustapa Mohamed for agreeing to grace our summit and to deliver the keynote address later. Now, in anticipation of our discussions today, please allow me to cover three areas in my welcome address. First, on the banking industry's resilience amid COVID-19 challenges. Secondly, future-proofing the banking industry via promotion of sustainable financing and embracing digitalization. And third, a quick outline of our program for today. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia has undergone three significant crises in the last 3 decades. The Asian financial crisis of 1997-1998, the global financial crisis of 2008, and the financial markets turbulence in August 2015. However, these 3 crises mentioned pale in comparison to the global COVID-19 pandemic that we have experienced over the past 2 years. To date, COVID-19 has caused more than 34,000 deaths out of 4.1 million cases in Malaysia and 6.1 million deaths out of 480 million cases globally. Aside from the loss of life, socioeconomic well-being has also been severely impacted on an unprecedented scale. Even here, in Malaysia, we were not spared. As you know, the global economy contracted by 3.2%, and on our shores, we had contraction of 5.6%. Our unemployment rate reached an all-time high of 5.3%. That means 826,000 people unemployed back in May 2020, and the median monthly household income declined by 11.3% to 5,209 ringgit in 2020. And poverty incidence rate increased from 5.6% in 2019 to 8.4% in 2020, meaning that there were some 639,800 households living below the poverty line income of 2,208 ringgit per month. Now, despite encountering challenges brought about by the pandemic and catastrophic flooding last year, our economy fared well, notwithstanding the turbulent year, with a growth of 3.1%. The gradual reopening of the economy since early May 2020, coupled with the 8 stimulus packages amounting to 530 billion ringgit, which were introduced throughout 2020 and 2021, have helped cushion the impact of the crisis and its spillover effects on the economy. In addition to the government stimulus packages, the resilience of the financial system is another critical aspect that supports the nation's economic recovery. Having learned from the lessons of the 1997 Asian financial crisis and the 2008 global financial crisis, the banking sector today is better capitalized, more liquid, better managed, and very well supervised and regulated by the central bank. Our banking system remains resilient with healthy capital and liquidity buffers to facilitate financial intermediation activities. And based on Bank Negara's statistics, the banking system's core equity Tier 1 ratio of 15.2% as of 31st December 2021 is significantly higher than the 9% core capital ratio back in 1997 and 10.6% back in 2008. Asset quality of the banks improved significantly, with net impaired loans ratio improving from a high of 13.6% back in 1998 to 2.24% in 2008, and today is only 0.9% as of 31st December 2021. And similarly, loan loss cover ratio improved from the low of 39% back in 1997-1998 to 75%, and now to 129% as of June 2021. And with the loan-to-fund ratio remaining broadly stable at 82.3% as of 31st December 2021, there is significant liquidity for the banks to fund future loans growth in order to expand the economy further. Now, from a capital market perspective, Malaysian banks and financial services companies are well represented in our stock market, with significant weighting in both the FBM KLCI index and the FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia index. The 8 banking stocks alone, that means Maybank, Public Bank, CIMB, Hong Leong Bank, RHB, M-Bank, Affin, and Alliance Bank, have combined market capitalization of 334 billion ringgit, or 18% of the total market capitalization of 1.8 trillion ringgit as at the end of February 2022. And on the ESG front, financial services stocks make up 41.3% of the FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Index weightage as of 15th of March 2022, compared to 11% for telco and media, 9.6% for utilities, and 9.5% for consumer products and services. Well, we do anticipate these financial services firms to play an important role in pushing corporate Malaysia to commit to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Now, on the back of these prospects, I am optimistic that our GDP can rebound to pre-pandemic levels. And based on the economic recovery observed in 2021 and with the reopening of our borders this Friday, Malaysia is poised to achieve our forecast GDP growth of between 5.5% to 6.5% in 2022. And this certainly corresponds well with the forecast made by the IMF and World Bank at 5.7% and 5.8% respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, if COVID-19 pandemic has taught us anything, we as humans must adjust to a new normal and resume global economic activities with greater resilience and agility. We must explore all possibilities in this space. One key approach that comes to mind is the inclusion of sustainability concepts and good ESG practices in our business strategy. As the demand for sustainable solutions increases, the banking industry is now seen as a catalyst and must play an instrumental role in supporting the transition to a more sustainable future. Among the ways financial institutions could advance the ESG agenda is to channel financing towards low carbon and nature positive initiatives. Aside from widening sustainable finance offerings, banks could potentially influence corporate behavior by shaping policy outcomes via platforms such as the Joint Committee on Climate Change, or GC3. Doing so will indirectly compel businesses to better manage their material ESG concerns and, in the long run, create positive impacts on the planet and society. The Climate Change and Principle-Based Taxonomy issued by Bank Negara Malaysia in April last year is an encouraging reflection of Bank Negara's commitment to guide the financial sector to be more climate resilient and to enable an orderly transition to a greener economy. Now, I'm heartened to note that the transition towards low carbon economy is being supported by a growing number of financial institutions, which have people like HSBC, for example, having pledged to be net zero by 2050, and including a commitment not to fund coal projects by 2030. And many other banks, including Maybank, CIMB, and others, have also made similar commitments. Beyond sustainability, the COVID-19 pandemic has become a catalyst for digitalization with a low-touch economy being more prevalent in the banking industry. As digitalization continues to shift consumer and business behavior, financial institutions must consider embracing a new technological applications and migrating to broader digital channels in order to provide better financial services. Customers will increasingly expect a more frictionless, cost-effective, and personalized experience. In this sense, it is critical that financial industry players have clear digitalization strategies, not just to remain relevant, but also to ensure that transformation efforts do not unwittingly increase risks that may threaten operational resilience and confidence in this industry. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very interesting day ahead of us, starting with the opening keynote address by Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Mustapa Mohamed on banks, economic recovery, and sustainability. And this will be followed by the CEO Leadership Roundtable on the topic of leadership challenges, transformation post-pandemic, which will be moderated by Dato Sri Muhammad Iqbal Rotha. We have 5 CEOs from diverse background, I must say, namely our OCBC Bank CEO, Dato Ong, our investment banker, Dato Sharon, and we have our senior Islamic banker, Dato Vasiha, JP Morgan Malaysia Chairman Osman Murad, and Sitos Digital's Mr. Eric Hamburger at the panel later. So I look forward to hearing them live at 10:45 a.m. And after lunch, we will have session 2 on future-ready banking, optimizing technology, talent, and innovation to be moderated by Tan Sri Michael Yeo. And this will be followed by session 3 on digital banks and fintechs towards financial inclusion, which will be moderated by the Vice Chair of Digital Economy Task Force, UN ISCAP for Asia and the Pacific, Mr. Eddie Hu. And we'll be concluding our day with panel session 4 on sustainability in banking, how banks can promote ESGs. That will be moderated by Ms. Feroz Abdul Hamid. Ladies and gentlemen, as Malaysia continues to navigate the exceptionally volatile times ahead, our hope is that the financial sector will continue to serve the Malaysian economy from a position of strength. We must stay focused on a path to recovery towards building a more resilient, sustainable, and inclusive future. We made it through the Asian financial crisis of 1997, the 2008 global financial crisis, and the 2015 financial markets turbulence. And with the help and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, we'll make it through this one as well. And let me conclude by again thanking Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Mustapa Mohamed for gracing our summit this morning, and our heartfelt appreciation also to all our speakers and moderators for bringing your insights into our conversations today. And to everyone here, both physically at the hotel and online, thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you a very productive summit. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, selamat pagi, very good morning. Saudara pengacara majlis, sahabat saya Tan Sri Abdul Wahid Omar, Pengurusi Bursa Malaysia, Tan Sri Michael Yeo, Presiden KSI, Dato Sri Iqbal, Economic Club Kuala Lumpur, tuan-tuan dan puan yang saya hormati sekalian. Pertama, saya ucapkan setinggi terima kasih kepada penganjur kerana telah memberi penghormatan kepada saya untuk bercakap sepatah dua kata pada pagi ini. Tan Sri Wahid sudah pun berkongsi kekuatan industri perbankan di Malaysia, 3 krisis yang telah kita lalui sejak tahun 97-98 dan bagaimana kita menanganinya. Tan Sri Wahid telah seorang yang telah melalui kesemuanya ini, bukan sahaja menjadi seorang anggota korporat Malaysia yang hebat, tetapi juga terlibat juga dalam penggubalan dasar pada satu ketika, dan hari ini masih lagi begitu aktif dalam memberi input kepada kerajaan dan korporat Malaysia. Dan untuk itu kita ucap terima kasih kepada Tan Sri Wahid kerana masih lagi kuat dan bertenaga memberi idea yang bernas kepada kerajaan, pada korporat Malaysia. Tahniah diucapkan kepada Tan Sri Wahid. Let me begin by thanking Dato Sri Michael Yeo and the KSI Strategic Institute for Asia Pacific for inviting me to say a few words at this Malaysian Banking and Finance Summit 2022. I would like to congratulate the organizers for putting another impactful event on the future of Malaysia's financial industry. Over the course of the summit, I hope all the participants, both online and offline, will freely and frankly discuss the issues facing the financial industry and indeed the Malaysian economy. This is my third time speaking. I've been reminded by the organizers, my third time speaking at the summit and delivering the keynote address. Today I've been asked to talk about banks, economic recovery and sustainability. I would like to apologize if I do not fully meet your expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, we are entering the third phase, or the third year, of this pandemic. COVID-19 has upended the status quo by changing the way we work and live. Many are of the opinion that some of these changes will be long-standing or perhaps permanent, even when we transition to the endemic stage come April 1st. The government responded to the pandemic by taking a number of measures through 8 stimulus packages, as shared by Dato Sri Wahid a few moments ago. Besides the 8 packages, budgets 2021-22 have been unprecedented, with significant allocations earmarked to ensure that the rakyat's lives and livelihoods are safeguarded. The successful implementation of the national COVID-19 immunization program has seen most of the Malaysian population fully vaccinated, as we all know. This is a point we often remind fellow Malaysians and indeed the international community. According to our latest numbers, about 98% of adults have been fully vaccinated, while almost 70% have been boosted. According to the Bloomberg COVID Resilience Ranking, which we all know, Malaysia stands proudly at number 19, ahead of many other countries, including some developed countries. Alhamdulillah, our efforts are bearing fruit. Our GDP grew by 3.1% in 2021, and our unemployment rate, which reached a high of 5.3% in May 2020, dropped to 4.2% last January. Recent economic indicators suggest that our growth will be driven by robust external trade and a net inflow of foreign investments, as well as more resilient private consumption growth. Although this bodes well for Malaysia, particularly as we head towards the reopening of international borders next Friday, there may be some pushback, of course, coming from the economic impact of the war between Russia and Ukraine, the sharp increase in the prices of a number of commodities as wheat or oil and corn come to mind. That being said, we remain confident in achieving the government's projected GDP growth of 5.5 to 6.5% this year. Ladies and gentlemen, the financial sector or the financial system facilitates transactions between lenders and borrowers, providing access to the capital necessary in spurring economic growth. The role of banks in supporting economic recovery is very vital. The government and the banking industry took very bold measures at the height of the COVID-19 outbreak, notably the deferment of all loan repayments, the moratorium for a period of at least 6 months. It is my hope that banks will again work hand in hand with the government to spur economic recovery. I hope financial institutions will do their best to facilitate access to funding for businesses, including small, medium enterprises, especially those hard hit, such as aviation, tourism, and hospitality. Ladies and gentlemen, 2022 is not only a pivotal year for economic recovery. This current year is also an opportunity to reform the nation's economy. Our aim is to be a high-income nation by the year 2025, and in order to do this, we must change the way we do things. Among other things, we must increase investments in human capital and talent, upskill and continue to reskill our workforce, enhance our competitiveness and innovation, reform and strengthen our institutions, widen and deepen our social safety net, and ensure a more equitable distribution of income. These are very challenging goals, of course, but we've got no choice but to move ahead. The worst of COVID-19 is now over, hopefully. It is time for us to steer the course of reform and change in transforming Malaysia to become a high-income nation by the year 2025. In the case of the financial sector, the Financial Sector Blueprint 2022-2026 shows us the way forward. The blueprint outlines Bank Negara's priorities for the years ahead and complements the 12th Malaysia Plan in accelerating digitalization, providing choices and access to consumers while strengthening the funding ecosystem and advancing green financing. The entry of digital banks and insurers are welcome as they offer innovative financial products, increase and efficiency, and of course, promote financial inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, the financial sector must continue to play an important role in the sustainability agenda. The recent floods have shown how vulnerable Malaysia was, and the world indeed, to climate change. We must accelerate our transition to a greener economy. Already, 270 banks representing 45% of banking assets worldwide have committed to the UN Environment Programme Finance Initiative's principles for responsible banking in aligning the strategic roadmaps and sustainability targets to the Paris Climate Agreement and SDGs. Therefore, there is a need for financial institutions in Malaysia to follow suit with their global counterparts. I applaud the efforts taken by Dato Sri Wahid Omar in pushing public listed companies on Bursa Malaysia to adopt and improve the environmental, social, and governance reporting. I'm informed that over 900 public listed companies are disclosing their annual sustainability statements and reports. That's a very remarkable achievement. What is clear is that business as usual is no longer cut it. As a mobilizer of capital, the banking industry plays a crucial role in supporting the transition of companies towards a low-carbon economy through sustainable financing and investment. Ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased that a number of our banking institutions are blessed with world-class talent. The CEOs of the institutions have been successful in navigating the perilous waters of COVID-19, facilitated, of course, by our central bank. They have led our banks to embrace change, transformation, and innovation as we move towards the endemic stage. If it is any industry in this country that can make the leap towards reforming and adapting the way we do business, it is the financial sector. We have come a long way over the past 2 years, but we must not let our guard down as we enter the endemic phase. We must continue marching forward. Only then can we achieve the aspiration to become a high-income nation by the year 2025. That's all I have for you. In concluding, let me once again thank you for giving me this opportunity to say a few words this morning. I would like to congratulate the KSI Strategic Institute for Asia Pacific and the Economic Club of Kuala Lumpur for organizing today's Malaysia's Banking and Finance Summit. Have a fruitful and productive discussion ahead. Sekian. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.